was my dream, but when I finally did it, I felt like I was made for this. Like, that's how much 5 years can make. And so I just want to take this example of my life, and I feel like it can happen to anyone. 5 years can change in anyone's life. You could be in a rut, if you're in a rut today, or if you're in a place that you feel like you can't get out of, or if you feel hopeless, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you failed and you don't even know which way is up or what to do. In 5 years' time, I want to encourage you that you could be like on top of that mountain, of that pinnacle that you said was your dream. Because it happened to me, and it can happen to you. So aside from that tangent, going back, advice that I would give my 25-year-old self. So again, I was flung into the public eye overnight. When I won Miss Universe, it was like, it happened instantly, and it was very hard for me to adjust. Being a shy, private girl, being a very shy private girl in person, to suddenly everyone wanted to know my business, everyone wanted a piece of me, it felt like. And I just didn't know really how to cope with that at first, because it made me feel very overwhelmed. Suddenly, everything that I said, I had to watch, I had to make sure that I could express fluently and cohesively what I wanted to say, because if I would missay something, it could be construed in a different light, or I had this perception that every time I walked out of the house, I needed to be done up in a certain way. It was a lot of outward pressure. But I also had to learn the lesson, and this is a lesson that I would like to share on to all of you, is that sometimes you need to catch yourself when you focus too much on the negative and you're not focusing on the positive, because it's a choice. When you constantly look at and focus on the things that are going wrong, the things that you're lacking, the things that didn't work out, the failures, the upsets, the things that let you down, and there may be positives in your life, but you're just not seeing them. The more that you're focusing on that negative, the bigger they become. I think there's a famous saying, right, that there's two wolves. There's a negative and a positive, and the stronger one is the one that you feed. So it's very much the same concept. And so that would be a lesson that was one of the biggest ones for me at 25, because I needed to focus on the positive. And so that for me was, I had reached my dream. I had incredible influence that I was really inspired to have, because I could share the passion for my advocacies and my, as a spokesperson, really trying to educate people with my experiences and try to keep giving. So I just switched my perception to that, and I really started to enjoy the journey. It was a crazy journey, it was an overwhelming journey, but because of that shift in focus, I was really able to be present and to really enjoy the ride. Another piece of advice that I could give myself at 25 would be, again, about the definitions. So I was still being discriminated, I suppose, in the light of being a beauty queen, because people would constantly just be like, oh, what do? You're a beauty queen. Oh, so you don't have much to offer then. You're just a model on a stage type of thing. Like, I had nothing really to offer. Because there is that perception, like just as there is of a lot of different jobs, a lot of different places in community or in your society that you may take up, a lot of people have perceptions of that. So again, battling against those perceptions. And the way that you can take power from that is when you define what success is for you. Because we all want to be successful, right? But we have to really try and define it for ourselves and not let society or our family or our peers define success. It needs to be you. Because otherwise you're just going to chase and chase and chase, and you'll never be able to grab it because it's not your definition. And that's the advice that I would give my 25-year-old self. So thank you everyone who's been sending in questions, and you're into this little chat box with the question mark. I have a question here. Someone has asked, share an empowering woman moment that inspired you. I like this question. It was actually backstage at a show, and I think one of the girls' shoe broke, like the actual buckle had broken or something like that. So if you imagine, that's like a huge panic moment, because how can you walk properly if you have a broken shoe? And then another girl, I forget which countries they were, because it was in the craziness of backstage, immediately offered up her shoe because she was not in the top 10. She was she hadn't been called for semis, but she knew that that girl needed to walk with confidence for her chance to represent in the semifinals. And I just witnessed that out of the corner of my eye, and I thought, wow, that is such an amazing example of sisterhood within pageantry that I feel like always tries to get portrayed as catfighty. Or I'm sure that there are instances that they may have happened, but this was such an amazing example of like another woman seeing another woman's opportunity to shine and actually empowering her and giving her the tool that she needed in her moment of need to be able to excel. So I just thought that was a really wonderful moment. Very simple moment, but one that I'll definitely remember. Thank you to whoever sent that in. And we have another question, and that is equality for women or equity for women. So equality and equity are actually two different things, and they're not exchangeable. But you would want both. Because what we're aiming for is an equal world. It means a world that not everyone's given, like, because what's happening right now is there's certain cycles that are repeating, whether it be cycles of poverty, cycles of inopportunity, cycles of even the language that's being used to certain women to keep them down, to discourage them, to dismay them, to tell them that they can, or even laws that are in place in some certain countries that really actually do not allow women to do the same things as men. Like how long did we have to fight to even have the right to vote as women? And we today celebrate or even enjoy rights that women before us fought so hard for, but the women of today are still needing other women to fight for also them, because it's no good just fighting for ourselves while somewhere else in the world another woman doesn't enjoy that same right. It needs to be across all countries, all ages. It needs to have that equal opportunity. It needs to have that equality, because how can we ever move forward? Once we allow women to be given equal opportunity, that's when we are giving service to the community as a whole. Because we can never move forward unless women move forward. So that's really what we're trying to aim for in our communities. Thank you to whoever sent that in, and keep sending in your questions. I have another question. In the near future, where do you think you'll be? The near future. Let's say near future is like a year. I will be here in the Philippines, I'm pretty sure. Hopefully continuing to do work that I love. There's always this certain perception that we should constantly have goals to reach for it. And I'm a goal setter. I'm a planner. I will definitely take ownership of that title because I really am. But there's also a certain amount of grace that you need to afford yourself, especially as women, because I did not realize this. But as I shifted from 25, 26 to now 27, I've become increasingly aware of this pressure of a timeline that women have pushed down onto them. And I would love to know from the other women who are watching, have you ever felt that you had to have certain things at a certain time in your life? Anong ibig sabihin? I'm trying to say, like, okay, at 21, graduate school. By 25, meet the man you want to settle down with, get married, have your own home, whatever. Or maybe 25 is having kids for you. Or like, do you know how I mean? Like, society has a certain pressure, especially when you get to the later part of your 20s, or maybe you're even in your 30s, and your family, or maybe even the people around you might be nagging you, like, when are you gonna have kids? When are you gonna settle down? Like, you don't have a boyfriend yet? What's wrong with you? Like, do you know what I mean? There's always that certain perception pushed down on women, and I feel the pressure. I was actually thinking about this talk when TikTok Philippines approached me of what I wanted to talk about, and this is actually something that I want to talk about that I haven't actually talked about before. So I'm really grateful that 2,500 of you are sitting here with me and we're having an intimate little chat. I'm very lucky, aside from it being related to my pageantry or model background experience, to never have experienced sexism in my life until, in a way that really causes me to constantly think about it until now. And that is in the aspect of, I feel in my experience and in my job, and I don't know how this applies to other women. I would love to let you guys let me know in the comments for me. But I feel like this pressure that I cannot have both a family and a career. It has to both be exclusive. Like, there's that perception of, oh, Miss Universe ka, but then you went and just settled down, sayang. Or if it's like you're a workaholic, and we glamorize workaholics, we glamorize like never taking breaks and working nonstop and not sleeping and not taking time for ourselves. We glamorize that, and I don't know why we do. We glamorize overworking, and then we say to that overworker who is probably successful and say, sayang yung family mo. You don't even have any time to spend with them. Like, so we never win. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're told you can either have one or the other, but you can't have both. You should achieve for both, though, because usually it's dangled in front of us. Like, look at that CEO of a multi-conglomerate company, and she's also a mother, and she's doing such a good job. But then you're also not giving us the opportunity to do both in society. I don't know. It's something that I think about all the time now. I would love to know your guys' thoughts. If you guys also experience the same in your everyday life or in your certain circumstance. But yeah, I just think that's really sad that we women are always constantly trying to be fit into another person's boxes. Like, it could even be here in like the aspect of beauty. We're always being fit into a certain box. It could be like a skin color, like seeing as having lighter skin is more desirable kesa sa morena. Or because my mom, who is a beautiful morena, told me that she used to be bullied in school because of her skin color. And I think that is horrible. Like, absolutely horrible. It's not right. Or like beauty looks like a certain body shape, a certain measurement, a certain weight. Like, that's also not right. We're constantly being shrunk down to fit in boxes, and we were never meant to do that. We were meant to have our own unique shape. We were meant to just be ourselves and feel power, because that's when we are most powerful as women, is when we are in our own unique power. And that's why I feel like so many of us feel like we're without it, because we're constantly going under the pressure to fit in a certain box. But I think we're slowly starting to really recognize that. We're really pushing boundaries on what people say that we should be and the definitions that we should fill as women, and we're starting to define it ourselves. So that's why I'm so happy to be alive in this generation, because we are some of the most aware generations. I feel like we're so aware of the plight of other people now than we ever were before. If I may draw up this example, I saw someone who commented, do you support the LGBTQ? Yes, I do. And this is another thing, I guess Women's Month also lends itself to trans women with their equal rights. And I know this is a very controversial topic, but if I may just offer my own experience to you. When I started to build friendships, it so happened that I had a lot of friends who recognized themselves with the LGBTQ community, but I never saw them as that. I saw them as my friends, as human beings. I saw them as people who I love and I care about, who I love spending time with, and they are my true friends. Some of them are my best friends. Some of them I see them multiple times a week. And then when I started to realize that they were discriminated against, that they felt unsafe in some certain situations, that they were threatened, or they didn't have equal rights as me, I was like, wait, that's not right. Like, that's someone who's my friend and someone who I care about. And so that's why I became an ally of the LGBTQ community. I also had the pleasure to be in a Miss Universe edition that had its very first transgender contestant who represented Spain, Angela Ponce. And I think that was an amazing opportunity to represent the LGBTQ community, because we as beauty queens were meant to stand for something. Because I don't feel like we're just meant to be up there and be beautiful and walk pretty and that's all that we ever amount to. I feel like we're there to be a voice for someone. For me, I was a voice for education and opportunities for all. That's something that was the core of the message that I've always carried throughout my reign and through the competition. And Angela, Miss Spain, she carried the message of the trans community and the LGBTQ community. And that's what she was able to shed light on. It may be a controversial topic for many people, but at least in her participation of the pageant, she was able to inspire conversations and inspire awareness that I don't think has ever been done before in that circle. And so I think that she did an amazing thing for the community. So again, happy Women's Month. And thank you to everyone who's still tuned in with me. I know we've been chatting here for 40 minutes. It's a long time. I appreciate those of you who have stayed since the beginning and who have been sending in your questions. And these are really great questions. I'm super, super impressed. These are some super malalim questions that are really getting to the heart about what being a woman is, or even like advice for yourself. And so I'm just really appreciative that you guys are taking the time to really stay with me and spend time with me. So my next question that you guys sent in was, does pressure help you, or has pressure helped you become who you are today? Thank you to whoever sent that in. I am someone who thrives in pressure, and I think there are a lot of people who are maybe not that way. It really depends, but pressure is a great thing, because if you don't feel nervous, if you don't feel pressure, that really equates to saying you are invested in this, you care about what you're doing. It's definitely not a bad thing. And pressure has really allowed me to be who I am today, because I think sometimes without pressure, without that inner push, I probably wouldn't have been moved to make a difference, to work on myself, to really better myself and get to where I have, if there was no pressure to do so. Does that make sense? I mean, change is great. Change is scary, but change is really, really good. Whether you believe in a higher power or not, I believe in God, and I feel that God always has a plan for you, and sometimes he needs to nudge you and just give you little hints, or sometimes he completely like closes off a door that you really thought, I was meant to go through there. Like, that's where I'm meant to go. Like, for me, that was how Miss World felt like. I felt so guided to that direction, to be in pageantry and to be competing there, only to fail. And I was just like, wait, what? And a lot of times that happens in life. We have this personal perception of how it's meant to play out. Like, we think we know it all, but we forget, like, God knows so much more, and he is probably saving us from something. He's just gently redirecting us. Like, who would have thought that Miss Universe was my reward for being redirected by God? So just to encourage someone today, if you felt like you had a door closed on you, you could just be getting redirected to something even greater than you could have possibly ever thought of or even considered. So thank you to whoever sent me that question. And the next question is, how do you stop comparing yourself to others? This is really, really difficult. And I feel like being on social media, it just makes it so difficult to not compare yourself, because it's almost an automatic thing that we do. So my first advice would be to regulate your social media use, or to also regulate who you follow. If you follow people who make you feel unconfident about the way that your body looks, or perpetuate unhealthy eating habits, or just unhealthy attitudes, or things that you can feel that upset you, I would encourage you to unfollow them and to follow people who have more of an encouraging message, and people who make you feel represented and seen and validated. Another way that I've helped myself to stop comparing myself is to know that I'm going at my own pace in my life. Because I've noticed that before, especially when I was younger, I would see other, especially women, I would always see other women who were excelling, and then I would think, how come I'm not there yet? Like, why is it taking me so long to get to where they're at? What do they have that I don't? And it was just this feeling that really just broke me down a little bit, because it's not a productive feeling. It's not something that helps you. So it's really just realizing, you know what? They have their own journey. They have things that I cannot see that they've gone through or are going through in their life, because again, everyone who's watching, whatever you see on social media is only just this one dimension of a multi-dimensional person and a life that they lead. Like, it's, you don't see the struggles and the failures and the breakdowns and the closed doors and the things that are hurting them or have hurt them, or the things that they've had to go through to get to where they are. So please don't compare yourself. You have your own journey, your own pace, your own timeline. So I hope that helps you in trying not to compare too much. But thank you to you guys who are asking these questions. Please keep commenting in the little speech box with the question mark, #LikeAFilipina. Any questions that you guys might like me to answer? We only have 15 minutes left. Oh my gosh, this hour has gone by so quick. But let me know if there's anything else that you'd like to ask. I really love the questions that you guys are sending in. And we have another one. What can you say about women supporting women? It's a beautiful thing when women come together, because why not have more of it? And I don't want to make it seem like it should be something that's so out of the ordinary. It should be something that's really common, right? Women supporting other women. I think it would be great if we stood up for each other, because I think we've gotten to the point where we see a lot of really wonderful quotes, like women don't need to find their voice, they need to feel empowered to use their voice, and people need to be empowered to listen. Like, we have a collection of great quotes about women supporting women. But what about when you see in front of you, like at school, in your peer group, or if you see in your workplace, or if you see online, someone bringing down another woman, whether it be another woman, whether it be a man, whether it be whoever? What do you do about it? Do you step in? Do you just let it go? Do you take a stand? Do you get involved? And even issues in your community that you see are not benefiting women, or opportunities that would benefit women, do you add your voice to that? I feel like we should, because that's the only time that it's actually going to translate to actual change in our community. That's what women supporting women should be. Everybody supporting women, and allowing them to flourish, allowing them to really be their best. Because once I can testify to this because I've experienced it in my life, and I hope that you have too. When you've experienced someone being incredibly generous to you, or someone giving you a blessing, or someone who just out of nowhere gave this act of kindness to you, that really works its way deep into your heart, and I feel like you're more inclined to do that for another person yourself. So if you're gonna just imagine the same kind of thing with women supporting women, if we continue to support women, not just through our words, but also through our actions, that would be an amazing community that we could work on for our future generations, and even for us to enjoy and experience. So thank you guys for sending in that question. I have another question here. Advice to people who are about to enter in the stage of adulting. Woo! Adulting! Oh my gosh, I tell you what, it felt like such a growing pain for me. That's what adulting felt like, a growing pain. Because it was just I I'm an only child, so I was very sheltered growing up. I was very protected by my parents. They weren't overly strict with me, but I was very protected. And so when I found myself, like, I literally moved out of country from where my parents were. Like, that's how far I went from them. And I lived on my own, and I was overwhelmed immediately. One, being in a place that I didn't know. Two, not knowing the language, because when I moved to the Philippines, I didn't know any Tagalog. I didn't understand any Tagalog. So I felt like a fish out of water. And again, with that, I would get anxiety being out alone. I didn't have friends when I first got here, and it was just a really scary time for me. But again, when it comes to finding your feet or getting used to a new environment, or even in a new school, or starting a new course, or starting anything new that feels a little bit scary because of change, you eventually grow into it. And growing, it's just like growing pains, right? Growing pains hurt while it's happening, and they can go on for a while, and it can hurt for a while. You feel it for a while, and then eventually it's like one day you're like, oh, that's not so bad anymore. And it's just like that. You learn to adjust. And really just find a support group, because support changes like so much your situation. If you're adulting, or whatever situation you are, having a support group, whether that be your family, your friends, just a community around you, that makes all the difference in your happiness, your state of mind, and in whatever you're going up against. So I would encourage you, have your support group, and it will pass. And good luck in your adulting. And it's our last 8 minutes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Please send me in your last questions. And we'll try and answer a few more before I segue into our next Empowered Filipina for our Like a Filipina campaign in partnership with TikTok Philippines. So our next question that we have is, share an advice to people suffering from harassment. Ooh, this is a hard question, because harassment comes in a lot of different forms. If it's harassment online, like online bullying, first off, any harassment, I'm so sorry that you're experiencing that and that you're going through that. I would wish that on no one. But if it's online harassment in the form of bullying, unfortunately, there's not a lot that we can do to really hold people accountable, but it can be as easy as blocking that person, reporting them if you can, and just distancing yourself from that person, from allowing them to get into your space online. Because I think a lot of people forget that when you're just putting words into a computer, like, it doesn't hurt to say them, but it hurts to read them and for it to be directed at you. I've been a victim of online bullying and bashing and harassment, and it's horrible. It feels like someone says it to you, to your face. So I just hope that, you know, if ever you feel inclined to say something mean or say something detracting, or even if you think it's criticism to someone else, just please just think about it before you send it, because it really does hurt. It hits personally, and that person who you're targeting at might be going through so much more than you know, that your comment could just be that push over the edge, and I hope that you wouldn't do that. And then harassment in everyday life, whether it be as a woman, you're being catcalled or you're being harassed in your workplace, I would encourage you to bring that to a higher up executive. And if they don't action on it, I encourage you to find a different line of work if all else fails, because you should not subject yourself to that type of harassment just to stay within a job. And I know that's a very difficult situation to be in, because in the middle of a pandemic, we want to provide for our families, and that job may be your family's lifeline, but you're also worth something. And work does not mean degrading yourself and your mind and your soul and putting up with something like that just to support your family, because if you're not there, then who's going to fulfill that role? Like, you also need to be selfish in that aspect and kind of put some worth in yourself. But whoever's going through that, again, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. Please find a support, your friends that you can hold on to, that can really give you that strength to speak up if you need to. And I hope that you find yourself out of it. Last 5 minutes, oh my goodness. Okay, last question. Message to all of the women who are suffering with insecurity. to my fellow women, if only you could see how wonderful and capable and worthy and beautiful that you are. If you could only treat yourself as someone who you once loved. Like when you imagine how we talk to ourselves in our mind, right? Sometimes we can say the most hurtful things. Sometimes we can be the worst, the meanest critique to ourselves, or critic to ourselves. And words are like poison sometimes. If you keep ingesting that internally, that's what really starts to break away at your soul, at the way that you feel about yourself. And that's where I feel insecurities are born. If not that, then it's in comparing yourself to other people. But I want you to know, because we've already talked about battling perceptions and comparison, but I want you to know that you are capable and you are unique in a way that only you can be. And there's magic in that. There really, really is. And it just is, it's only waiting for you to see it. It's not about your boyfriend seeing it, or your family seeing it, or your crush seeing it, or your teacher seeing it. It's about you seeing it first. And if you don't see it, let God see it and let Him show it to you that He sees it. Because you are so beautiful, and that's not beautiful in a certain sense of looking a certain way. You're beautiful because of your spirit, because of your capabilities, because of your worth, because of your potential. And that's what I want the message for you to take away today. This Women's Month and every month, every day, that there is someone who believes in you, and it should be you. So thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in with me tonight on this first of the kickoff series of Like a Filipina. Up next at 6 p.m. we have another inspiring Filipina. She will be on from 6 to 7 p.m. But I thank you so much for sitting in here with me today. Please do follow me on my TikTok and also at Catriona_Gray on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. And we can have more meaningful conversations like this. I've really, really enjoyed this opportunity. I love doing lives with you guys. Thank you for the finger hearts and all the hugs that you guys have been sending. This has been really, really fun. And I want you all to stay safe always. We are going through such challenging times, but just keep your head up and this too shall pass. Keep praying. I love you all. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for your time. It means so, so much to me. And also thank you to TikTok Philippines for the opportunity to sit down with you all for the Like a Filipina Women's Month campaign. You guys are the best. You've been great with sending in your questions. Super insightful. I feel encouraged myself being able to see that you guys are so aware, that you're asking such intelligent questions, and it's been such a pleasure being able to talk to you all and share a little bit of my journey and share a little bit of myself. I hope that you're able to take something away from the things that I've shared tonight. Yeah, let's chat soon. Please get in touch with me on my other socials, and yeah, stay safe wherever you are, whether you're in the Philippines or if you're from anywhere else in the world. Happy Women's Month, and remember to own your power, own your worth. You are capable, you are beautiful, and you are unique. There is no one else like you. I love all of you.